What if two fan-favorite sci-fi universes were secretly the same one? What if the raggedy crew of Serenity were living their lives centuries after humanity had survived its encounter with the deadliest organism in the known galaxy? What if Firefly is the alien universe after the xenomorphs? Today, we are going deep on one of the most compelling fan theories in all of science fiction. And it starts with a logo. A tiny blink-and-you'll-miss-it moment in the very first episode of Firefly. Before we get into the theory, however, let's lay out the two universes we're talking about. Firefly is Joss Whedon's beloved space western that Fox canceled after one season, which, let the record show, remains one of the great crimes in television history. The show follows Malcolm Reynolds and the crew of a Firefly-class transport ship called Serenity, 500 years in the future. Humanity has colonized dozens of planets and moons in a new solar system, living under the thumb of a central authoritarian government called the Alliance. It's gritty, funny, heartbreaking, and it feels lived in a way that very few science fiction shows ever achieve. While the Alien universe, kicked off by Ridley Scott's 1979 masterpiece, is the story of humanity bumping up against something it was absolutely not ready for, the xenomorph. And lurking behind almost every terrible decision that gets people killed in these movies is one entity, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. As a sinister megacorp, they will sacrifice any number of human lives to get their hands on a xenomorph specimen. Now, two completely separate franchises, right? Different studios, different tones, different everything. Or are they? It happens in the very first episode of Firefly. We're in the middle of the Battle of Serenity Valley, the brutal, defining moment in Mal Reynolds' life. Soldiers are dying, the war is being lost, and there, on a gun turret in the middle of the chaos, is the Weyland-Yutani logo, the instantly recognizable corporate mark from the Alien franchise, just sitting there, on a piece of military hardware, hundreds of years in the future. Now, before you write this off as a coincidence, here's where it gets really interesting. Joss Whedon, the creator of Firefly, also wrote the screenplay for Alien Resurrection. That's the fourth Alien film from 1997, starring Sigourney Weaver and Winona Ryder. Whedon famously had a complicated relationship with how that film turned out. But the point is, he spent serious creative time inside the Alien universe. And somehow, when Firefly was being made, the Weyland-Yutani logo ended up in the very first episode. We don't have a statement from Whedon explaining exactly why. But what we do have is the logo, left in the show by a man who knew the Alien universe well. Draw your own conclusions. The fans certainly did, since they ran with it and built something extraordinary. The theory goes like this. Firefly takes place centuries after the events of the Alien movies. At some point, possibly after the events of Alien Resurrection, possibly later, humanity either defeated or escaped the xenomorph threat, or at least got out of that part of space. We packed up, found a new solar system, terraformed dozens of worlds, and started over. Weyland-Yutani, massive, powerful, centuries old, survived all of it. And in Firefly's future, that corporation, or its legacy, has become part of the fabric of civilization. Its branding shows up on military hardware because Weyland-Yutani has always been in bed with military and government interests. That's kind of their whole thing. The Alliance in Firefly, that controlling, oppressive central government, could itself be the evolved form of Weyland-Yutani. Think about it. A corporation that will sacrifice individuals for institutional power, a government that will sacrifice individuals for institutional power. Same energy. Let's check the math. The Alien movies span roughly from 2122 to 2381, depending on which film you're looking at. Firefly is set in the year 2517. That's over 100 years after the last Alien film. Plenty of time for humanity to have fled to a new system. And plenty of time for corporations to merge and evolve into something that looks like an interplanetary government. Both universes also share something else, a sense of decay. Things are worn, ships are battered. The future is grimy and functional. Alien gave us the Nostromo, a commercial towing vessel that looked like a factory. Firefly gave us Serenity, a transport ship that looked like it had been through a war, because it had. These are not utopian futures. They are futures where corporations won and regular people are just trying to survive. Here's a fun wrinkle, though, that the theory has to address. Where are the aliens in Firefly? If this is the same universe, why aren't xenomorphs a thing? The fan answer is clever. Humanity left. We got out of the part of space where the xenomorphs originated. We found a new system far enough away that they haven't followed. Or maybe the events of alien resurrection, set on a ship that crashes into the ocean, really did end the immediate threat. Maybe Weyland-Yutani's obsession died with the last specimen. Or, and this is the darker version, maybe the Alliance knows. Maybe there are black projects. Maybe the reason the Alliance is so paranoid and controlling is because they know what's out there and they are terrified. That's the kind of detail that makes a fan theory great. It doesn't just connect two things, it makes both of them richer. Speaking of dark, we also have to mention the Reavers. For those who haven't seen Firefly, the Reavers are humans who went to the edge of space, looked into the black, and came back as savage monsters who murder and cannibalize everyone they encounter. Now, what if looking into the black meant encountering something? What if the first settlers who pushed too far out ran into remnants of the xenomorph threat and it broke them so completely that this is what was left? The theory doesn't require this, but it's a haunting possibility that fits both universes. Okay, I have to be honest with you. I love this theory, but I also owe you the truth. Here's the thing that makes this theory both compelling and maddeningly unresolved. Joss Whedon has never really commented on it, at least not on the record in any source I've been able to find. And here's why I actually think that makes this theory more interesting. We're not dealing with a creator who said, yes, it's true, or no, it isn't. We're dealing with a piece of connective tissue that exists on screen with no official explanation attached. The theory lives in that gap, and that gap belongs to us. There's a school of literary theory, dating back to Roland Barthes' 1967 essay, The Death of the Author, that argues the creator's intention doesn't have to be the final word on a work's meaning. Once something is out in the world, it belongs to its audience too. So whether Whedon placed that logo on purpose or not, the result is the same. It's there. We found it and built something genuinely compelling out of it. Here's what I love most about this theory. Both Firefly and the Alien franchise are, at their core, about the same thing. What happens to ordinary people when massive institutions decide they don't matter? In Alien, it's a corporation willing to let its employees die for a profit. In Firefly, it's a government willing to oppress entire planets to maintain control. Mal Reynolds and Ellen Ripley are, in a very real sense, the same character. People who refuse to be expendable, who choose the messy, dangerous path of resistance over the comfort of compliance. And this fan theory reveals that these two titles are telling the same story about power, resistance, and what it means to be human in a universe that doesn't care about you. Whether Whedon meant it or not, that's a beautiful thing to find. So, do I think Firefly and the Alien movies are secretly set in the same universe? No. Do I think the theory is true in other ways that matter? Absolutely. These are stories that deserve to live next to each other because they illuminate one another. And the next time you watch Firefly, pause that first episode, find that logo, and let yourself believe, just for a second, that Mal Reynolds is out there in the same dark between the stars where Ripley fought for her life. That's a universe I want to live in, even if it's terrifying. Do you buy this theory, or is it just a fun Easter egg for us to speculate over? Let's discuss in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and consider subscribing. There are a lot more rabbit holes where this one came from.